back around. Let's see. I will tell you, I'm going live on Facebook. I'm going to give you I'm going to tell you how many suggestions we have. And then, yeah, and then you just pick a number and then we just go. It's like 10 minutes. So
Great, let's do it. I'm into
uh,
it.
and I mean, you've seen them. It's like however you want to play it. A lot of them have been like mono scenes, but that by no means is what it has to be. It just kind of, I feel like it's going to be what it's going to be. But
Sure. Do you
whatever
have
you
a
want to do,
specific like style of editing in this situation? No.
no,
Okay,
anything.
great.
I'm really, part of it is like I'm just excited to play with like different styles that you like to play with and different techniques and things like that. So, however, whatever you want to do, I'm there.
All right, I
Um,
won't tell you any secrets before we start. This is what I like. Nope.
uh, we've got, I don't know, pick a number between 1 and 12. Ooh.
7.
Lucky number 7. All right, 2, 4, 6. Oh, this comes from J Graigory, who I'll be honest, he's on a hot streak of getting his suggestions selected. His suggestion is Bunsen Burner. Bunsen Burner. Thanks, Jay.
Bunsen burner.
All right.
Hmm. I think it's gonna blow up.
Yeah, I'm pretty much assuming it is.
I mean, but part of my scientific method, like as I wrote it out, was that like hopefully it won't blow up. So I'm like a little concerned about the blowing up part of the blowing up.
I mean, you got a point there. In one sense, it's like, you kind of know what's going to happen, and if it does, it proves your theory. In the other sense, if it doesn't, it's back to the drawing board. Literally back to the drawing board.
You're potentially creating and buying a new drawing board if it blows up big
Oh,
enough.
I mean, I didn't even take that into account. I'm gonna put it up on the board.
Yeah, you should definitely write down the possibility that we could lose the drawing board. I feel like, when NASA gave us this project, they were really hoping for a little bit more like concrete evidence, and I feel like we're kind of just throwing theories at them and they don't love it. But like, do they not realize what science is? Like, I don't know.
Well, they don't, because they don't concern themselves with that. They're the policymakers. They don't care about the science. They just want results, and they don't understand that
Oh.
this takes trial and error. That's how you get results.
I mean, mostly a lot of error is
Lots of error.
mostly
Lots.
more error, I would say, than trial, to be honest.
I mean, absolutely. It's like 94% error and then 6%, or give or take 2% of trial.
Okay, speaking of errors,
Yeah.
something that I need to confess to you is that I didn't actually measure the liquids before I put them in. This time was kind of a wild out situation. I poured them together. I turned the fire on. We're essentially waiting to see if this is going to level the building or, create amazing new energy that's going to help us get to the moon like in 3 seconds.
I mean, normally I would be concerned, but I'm looking at this like that. Those are two win-win situations. If we created something that leveled the building like pretty instantly, or a new energy source, I mean, either way, we're looking at Time Person of the Year.
Do you want to be Time Person of the Year for being the guy that invented the new bomb? Is that the right thing? Like, I hear you, and you're right. We could be billionaires, like, immediately if we invented, like, a cool bomb. But, like, as a scientist, as a person who, like, just wants to kind of explore and be interested in the world, I feel like hurting it is not what I was supposed to do.
I mean, that's kind of like anti everything that we're supposed to be about. We're supposed to be leaving this place better than we found it.
Hmm. Yeah, if nothing else, just leaving it better with like more notes about like, hey, by the way, this
Yes.
is what you need to be involved in.
I mean, we're kind of like it's like we own an Airbnb and we're leaving some notes for people when they come in. It's like, hey, by the way, there's a busy food district down here. If you take 2 blocks on the right, if you go down there, you'll find some really great tapas. You can, there are bicycles right outside. I mean, we're doing that same thing just in a global scale here.
Yeah, I mean, like, as opposed to potentially being like a prank show where we're like, hey, would you like this beautiful 3-bedroom apartment in the middle of Phoenix? Boom, it exploded. Ha ha.
God, then this is our choice. Do we want to be punked or do we want to be House Hunters or House Hunters International? Either one of the Hunters franchise.
Man,
Or do we not even have is it already predetermined? I mean, this is what we're struggling with.
I am concerned. And
Yeah.
listen, I think maybe I need to do some research.
Okay. Okay.
Um,
Okay.
so
Okay.
so I'm gonna watch some House Hunters.
Okay.
And I'm going to see if maybe that helps me to understand how I should move forward with the nuclear science that we're working on. Okay.
Let's put it on the board. I'll flip the board around. Let's put it on the board.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Watch House Hunters. That's our first one. Okay. What are you okay? Terry, are you okay?
No, I'm just like
Okay.
trying to decide what's going on. Do you think we should buy a 3-bedroom, or do you think we need more of like a mansion to figure out how we're going to, I mean, like, when we're developing this new show about house hunting and how it like can improve your marriage, I feel like when we're pitching this to the networks, is it gonna be a big project or a small project? Okay, Tito, I need you to think about this. You're gonna find the talent.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. 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 I got it. I got it. Well, I mean, here's right off the bat, we can access the university and we can access all the students here. In fact, I'm going to put my TA, I'm going to put Brad's name up there. Whatever we decide to do, Brad is going to go ahead and be a part of this. He's my TA, so he has no other option than to do what I say because that's what he's here for. So
Yeah, that's true. That's actually, I believe that's in the job description of all TAs.
right, right,
Do
right, right.
whatever the teacher needs you to do, regardless of whether or not it's actually involved with the class that you're assisting. 100%.
All right, so Brad's up there. So I put Brad up there, and I think we make a decision right now, but there's so many factors that go into play. So I wanted to extrapolate all the possible factors and then make more of an educated guess than just kind of winging it. So I put a whole bunch on the list. Like first off, we've got the 3-bedroom option that we can buy. So I'm gonna put that up there. I also put a 2-bedroom, a 1-bedroom, and a studio as well. But it seems like we're leaning towards a 3-bedroom. My suggestion, what I want to try first is I think we should try all 4. 3-bedroom, 2-bedroom, a 1-bedroom, and a studio. We should try those, rent those out as Airbnbs, and then we'll gather some of that data right there.
How quickly do you think we could convince people who are renting our Airbnbs to sign a waiver so that we can just film them the whole time they're there?
Wow.
Do we have to call legal, do you think? Or like, should we just like write it? Because like, I'm sure I could go and just write up a quick, like, yes, I acknowledge that everything that I do in this Airbnb is going to be filmed, you know.
I think that's great. In fact, I'm going to put it up on the other board there. I'm going to put that up. That's a subset of that information. So I'm going to have a subset of that. So right now I've just got up the Airbnb if that's what we want to do, but then I'll do a
I wish you would.
subset of that. Yeah, I'll do a subset over. Okay,
Please.
so I'm putting
Please.
a subset over here.
Yeah, right over there. I'm getting very, I'm really involved in your lists. I feel like your lists are the right kind of lists,
Okay,
and
good.
they really put together information. All right. I see how the 3-bedroom could actually be more dramatic for, to sell to the networks. But like, if we got like, what if we got like a 6-bedroom and then just rented out each bedroom, but made people hang out with all the strangers,
Oh, that's
kind of
good.
like Real World, but on vacation, you know?
That's good. That's good. So I'm going to put 6-bedroom up there. That's the one I like. And then I put a graph down here. I put drama and then contentment. So we got to find where that is. So I'm just going to start plotting on that graph and we'll find the intersection there.
Who's looking for contentment? The audience, right? Not the people in the house. Because I don't know that I care whether or not our guests are enjoying their stay.
I don't care at all. I don't care about that at all. But that's not irrelevant. This is to the audience, right? As they're watching it there.
Yeah. We have one of the producers of that old show, Punked, to help us make the house filled with pitfalls and problems. There's a lot of glue involved. There's a couple of, like, when you pull a string, like you're going to put the blinds down, it actually covers you in feathers. So I feel like that a few of these are going to be like good, funny moments that we can involve, little things we can put in the stinger. Watch Airbnb Live. I don't know if that's what we're going to call it. Maybe we'll call it something different.
It's up here as a working title. I added the glue factor as part of this because I think the glue factor will heavily influence our results. So I have the glue factor up there. That's part of it.
Yeah, the glue factor. I like what that is. Maybe the glue factor could be the name. Oh, that'd be giving it away. But it just sounded good. It was like sticky, but detailed.
Let's have it.
I mean,
let's call this the glue factor.
I like how you make decisions. I like how you just stick to them and you go with it. That's really, I could have brainstormed for another 10 to 12 years, to be honest with you. So it's probably good. It's probably good that we're getting into it. By the way, your whiteboard skills are amazing. You just do a great job with lists and putting them up there. I feel like the words that you choose to write really just show me who you are in a way that I've never understood you before.
Terry, yeah. Thank you.
Well, I mean, we've been working together for a long time, but, sometimes you're just like, oh, my coworker, But, when I watch you with the whiteboard, I feel like you're really being you.
Wow. Thank you. That means a lot.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I'm happy to give you more random compliments if that makes you better. I mean, you seemed like you needed something, and I thought, let's talk about something I like about you. I mean, you did such a good job coming up with those ideas. I just figured, why not, lean into it?
Do you notice something?
I mean, it's not, I wouldn't say notice. It's more like, a few of us have noticed that when you arrive at work, you spend like 20 minutes in your car before you come in. And don't get me wrong, a lot of us do that. There's a lot of hang out in your car. There's a bit of a hang out in your car culture situation that's going on. But the difference is it's not like you're, eating a croissant or listening to a podcast. You're usually crying.
It's hard. It's every day I have to take a deep breath before I come in. I'm very scared to come in. Yeah.
You're scared of the environment at work or the hard work that we have to do, or, I mean, what is it that's scaring you? And as your direct partner, is there anything that I can do to make you more comfortable?
I've been terrified that we will have made a wrong calculation and blown up the building. Sure. Every day that we've been working on this. But what I've noticed is we didn't blow up the building. We've discovered a new renewable energy source.
Wow, you're right.
Also, I have imposter syndrome and I don't think I deserve to be here, but that's always going to be there.
Sure. I mean, you're not the only one who thinks it. So it's important that, you acknowledge these kinds of things. It's fine though. It's fine. To be honest, the most of the world is filled with imposters. I mean, we're all pretending, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I probably shouldn't tell you this, but like I actually never graduated from college. Like I don't know how I got this job at all, except for, well, I was friends with the lady in HR who was working there when I first moved. When I first moved to town, I met her, we hung out,
Denise.
and then she said, "Hey, there's a job opening. It's for a scientist." And I said, "I'm a scientist," because I just kind of like to be positive about things. And she said, "That's great." And then she got me the job. But I'm going to be honest with you. I am a literal imposter. I've been reading science books every night to try to, figure out what we're doing. And, the reason why I don't measure the liquids correctly is because I literally don't even know what measurement it should be. So I'm winging it. I'm winging it all.
Wow. I mean, that is earned confidence right there. You've just wung it. You've just wung it. You've been winging it, that you've wung it right now to creating a brand new energy source. I mean, if that doesn't say anything about science, I don't know what does.
Did you just invent the phrase wung it? Because like I'm into it. Put it on the board. Put it on the board.
That's the show title.
Wung it.
Wung it.
Absolutely. Because it's like they're winging it, but at the end they've wung it.
They've won.
And maybe
See?
they can win.
Oh my God. Amy, could have gone on forever, that scene. That was so much fun.
Oh my God, not gonna lie, in my head that was multiple scenes, but I'm into the idea that I like when you brought something back from one of the earlier moments, I was like, oh, we're the same people. Okay, that's fine.
I think it is fun, like almost like the way good long form works, where you tie it in at the end and you're like, oh, those are the same people. I did enjoy that journey we went on just now. That was,
We won it. We won it and it was fine.
oh my God, how did you get started in improv?
So I started improv when I first moved to Austin, Texas. I live in Austin, Texas, which is an amazing improv town. When travel's a thing again, you should travel to Austin, Texas, because there are, at this point, I want to say there's like 5 or 6 improv theaters, and they're still holding strong. Some don't have spaces anymore, but their communities are still holding strong. They're still solid, good, strong people. And when I moved to town, I happened to fall into the clutches of one of the people that was doing improv. Now, this particular human being wasn't like the best human being, but I found that out later. That's a long story. The story is I met somebody. They said, "Hey, you want to do improv?" I said, "Yes." And then I did. And it like snowballed from there. But I didn't start until I was 30. Now, I have a theater degree. So you'd think improv and the world of improv was definitely something that I would have done earlier, but I didn't get involved in it. I even lived in New York City when UCB was like starting. Like I could have been there and done it. I didn't have any idea. That was not my scene. My art scene was a group called the Art Stars. It was like crazy open mics on the Lower East Side, everybody with wacky names and costumes. Like there was an old man. I wonder what he's doing right now, or if he's even still alive. Who knows? But there was an older man who like would read poetry naked, and that was terrifying my first time. But like after that, it was just like, yeah, he's naked.
That's old Wingo.
Yeah, right. Absolutely. No, I mean, it became it was exactly what I wanted when I moved to New York, was like weirdo stuff, right? So I got with my weirdos, had a great time with the weirdos. And then I came back to Texas because Texas is where I went to college, had a weird relationship. And then when I was getting out of that relationship, my friends who lived in Austin were like, "Why don't you come to us and we will take care of you?" And I said, "Thank you. I need someone to take care of me." So I came and went with them. I was sort of sad about the breakup, and my girlfriend was like, "Why don't we go see some comedy? You love theater, you love comedy. Let's cheer you up and see it." And so we went to this comedy show. It was an improv show. I was like, "This is fun." And like every improv show, the guy at the end was like, if you really like this, you should try it. And so after the show, I went up to him and was like, hey, let's do it. And then,
No.
yeah, I mean, that's how I've done everything is like, I want to do something. Hey, that guy's doing it. Excuse me.
But also, there's an important part in what you're talking about, which is you do it. You don't sit back. You're like, I want to do it, and then you do it. And I think a lot of people could use that little push in their lives of like, just do it. Whatever that thing is, whatever you want to get into, just step forward and have that courage to say, hey, I will you. And also they invited you to do it, but to step forward and go, I'm going to do it, and then do it.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's also something about sort of being open to the opportunities that present themselves in front of you, like in that case, I didn't know what I was doing. Like, I
Right.
didn't know what I was stepping into. I didn't know what improv was, how it worked. I didn't know how much it would fulfill me in a larger sense, like, or provide me with skills that have helped in things that are, not even improv.
Right.
But I mean, for me, because I started it at 30 and like now I'm in my 40s, like for me, it was kind of like my second round art. Like I went to theater college, or it wasn't a theater college. I got a theater degree, but it was not, the whole college wasn't theatery. It was very Shakespeare,
Welcome to theater college.
they have those.
Yeah.
Years later, I worked at NYU and that felt a lot like theater
That's,
college. You
that's
know what I
pretty
mean?
close. Yeah.
But my college was not like that. But it was very Shakespeare, plays, stuff like that. They were very like, this is how you get involved in theater. And I did stage management and worked in plays. I was trying to become a stage manager on Broadway for a little while. Like that was one of the career paths that I was trying to get into.
Sure.
And then this nagging voice in me said, but you still want to perform. Hey, it would be cool if you got to do stuff and not just watch other people do stuff. And don't get me wrong, I love watching other people do stuff. I would kill for a stage management job right now, purely because it's like, oh, organization, helping, I want to do it. But like I do like the performing part. And in a the improv world is sort of like, in my mind, it's the best of the improv and sketch comedy world, which I know are different, but they exist similarly and
Yeah.
often in tandem. They establish a way of performing and a way of presenting where like you can do all the parts if you want, or you can switch it up. You know how like some jobs and in a lot of like organized theater, once you pick a role, like that's your role. Like
Yeah.
if you're a lighting designer, like you're a lighting designer forever. You're not going to be like, hey guys, maybe I could do props. They're like, what? No.
Yeah.
But in improv, you can be like, hey, I produced this show and I directed that show and now I'm acting in this one. And no one's like, hey, you can't do that. Like, so I like to change it up. And improv and the improv world has allowed me to do so many things. I mean, even talking to people and meeting you,
Yeah.
like just the idea of this is what? Wild.
I mean, and that's what we were talking about before. And it's interesting you say a thing about like once you're a lighting designer, that's it. The one of the
Mhm.
best improv teachers and sketch teachers I ever had was the lighting dude at a second city that I was going through classes. He taught our level 4 and 5. And at first you're like, what, a lighting guy is going to teach us? And then you're like, oh, wait, who's better to teach than somebody who's seen the most shows from an audience perspective? And then he became just this wonderful influence on us because he taught us to also believe in ourselves, and he taught us like for me, he taught me how to act in sketch comedy, and that's something I didn't really have experience going before. And so like to look at that as, oh, when you're in this improv world, you can do those different things. And sometimes, and you know this, sometimes it's as the person who like you produced and directed, there are times where you just want to perform. You're like, I don't
Yeah.
want to be that person to organize and do all that stuff. I want those opportunities to also just do what I love doing, which is performing.
Yeah, it's a nice thing about the community, certainly in Austin, but in other places I've seen as well, where nobody's going to judge you and put you in a box. Like you can ebb and flow. If you like produce a stand up show one day, you're not like just a producer of stand up shows forever after that. You can go in and out of other comedy things. you can get involved with improv, you can get involved with sketch comedy, you can get involved with all the different things. I mean, there's so much more even, especially when you think of like festivals and even like, so like we're doing these podcast things, which are another different kind of presentation, but also, is in and of itself sort of improv and living in the moment and being with somebody else for a second. Like I had been doing my podcast, Yes But Why, for before I had my child. I have a 3-year-old. And so I had been doing the podcast for a while in person with people, doing interviews for a couple of years. But once I had the baby, I was kind of home. So I turned it into the phone call or Zoom call podcast that it is now, where it's just me and I'm talking to people from far away, wherever that might be, right? But when you first have a kid, and especially when you're a theater person and an extrovert, you need like something to connect with, right? I just felt so alone. Also, when I first had the baby, my husband travels for work. And so he traveled. The first year we had the baby, he traveled like 40 weeks out of 52 in the year. And that was great for like work and for like the business, but it was like I was essentially alone, right? So then my phone calls to other improvisers was my social time. It still is. I mean, to be honest, with COVID, now it's like every time I get a chance to do something like this and talk to somebody and like connect on, about creativity and their life and like fun stuff, it's the best. I mean, it's just, it fills the need for me in a way that like I never even thought it could. And I would not even be able to do this or even transition between being on screen and being in person if I didn't have the improv training that helped me be malleable to whatever happens.
And that's such a key part of this. And when I've got 2 kids, and that first kid, that first year especially, you're just like, what is going on? You're like, I have no idea. And if you're doing it by yourself, which is what you were doing because your husband was traveling, and it, not anybody's fault, just the way it was. Now you're completely dedicated to that, and you're like, this thing is wonderful, but it's taking up most of my time and I don't have that outlet. And so I have to find that outlet. And so now that you've used the Yes But Why, it's more of, because of COVID, it's more of a Zoom situation. When travel restrictions are eased or we get back into like theaters or whatever, are you going to keep the same format as now? Are you going to go back to being live? Because this has shrunk the world. You're able to talk to people. We were talking earlier. You talk to people from Nepal, from all throughout the United States, all over the world, which we could have done before, but there was no like incentive to, but now there is. So are you going to, or do you have no idea what's going to happen and you're just going to go with it moving forward?
Well, I mean, realistically, the latter. Like, realistically, do I have any idea what's going to happen? No.
No.
Am I going to figure it out as it goes along? Yeah, probably. But like, as far as like goals, for the podcast, thankfully, well, first note I want to say is that I actually started doing international interviews before COVID. So like I'm on a few improv Facebook groups that are international, and one of the first things I did to try to get new guests was I just put like, who would like to be on the podcast? And I got all this response, and I emailed every single person.
Good.
And all of those people, maybe not all of them, but like at least 90% on that list that said yes are on the show. Like, we're part of the thing. Wanted to talk, let's do it. And also the cool thing is every time I talk to a person in another country, I ask them if they can connect me to other people in their country. Cool. Like, who else is doing stuff? It can be at your theater or it can be at another theater. I just really would love eventually for my podcast to be like this idea of like, you can check with the podcast and find out everyone in a certain area, and then you feel safer. Like, oh, I really want to go to this, podcast festival in Norway. How am I going to do it? Well, let's search all the people that are from Norway or that work with this festival that Amy's interviewed, and you can listen to them, and then you feel more comfortable. You feel less like, oh my God, should I apply for this international festival? I'm not good enough. And you're like, oh, these are like 3 or 4 regular human beings who are like, hey, who want to have fun? Let's do it. And then you feel a lot more comfortable. Now, as far as like goals for me, 2 things that I've done with Yes, but why that I'd love to do again. One of the things that I really love doing, Austin Film Festival contacted me to be a media outlet a couple of years ago. Like they gave me a media pass, and it was amazing because then once you get a media pass, they then help you get connected with any of the artists that you are interested in getting connected with to interview, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, I was also, not only was I a media person, but I'm also, because I'm a local comedian, I also host some of the Q&As. So like I host Q&As for a lot of the shorts programs. I love it. It's so fun. I love the shorts programs. And so I often just go to those people. Hey, I'm going to be the host of your shorts program. I also do a podcast. You want to chat? And I really loved at the end of that experience putting out an episode that was like, here's 12 people that I talked to from around the globe that
Whoa.
came to this festival in this town. And I talked to them and they told me why they love doing this kind of thing. And it's so cool. So I'd love to go to other festivals everywhere in the world and just sit in a room and interview people during the festival. Like, yeah, sure, go to shows and stuff, but like in the daytime or in the off time, sit down and be like, tell me why you love it. Let's really get into why we're excited to be here. Because I really feel like if you talk about why you're excited, it helps buoy the excitement.
Totally.
And if you're nervous, it like can abate it. If I'm like, oh my God, I also am concerned about those things, then you're like, oh, I feel a little better. I'm not so, worried about stuff. So yeah, that's my hope.
I mean, that is so true. It's like, and the same with to relate it to improvisers. If you're excited about your show, people will come out. If
Yeah.
you're like, I really want you to see a show, it's super exciting. Here's why. They go, okay, I'll see it. But if you go, I don't know, I'm just doing this thing, they're not gonna be as excited about it. And admitting that nervousness or that excitement leaves us in a very vulnerable position. And if you have somebody who goes, hey, I'm also feeling that way, or I understand that, or just shows empathy, it allows so much more interesting dialogue to happen. And that's the stuff, I feel like that's the conversations we like to hear. Like it's cool to talk about the film, but I want to hear that human side of you.
Mm. Plus, there's a lot to be said for learning what motivates a person in
Mm.
a way that it's like, it's not like what, well, 2 things. One, what like inspires you in the world that like keeps you coming back to it, right? Because that's an important detail that I think everybody needs to think about because like we're going to be around for 80 plus years, right? Like that's a lot. So you need to keep yourself going for 80 plus years. And sometimes you're going to be like, yeah, I'm going to relax and do nothing. But sometimes, if you have a thing that you're interested in, you have to keep going back to it and trying new things. And also, like you mentioned earlier, improv is changing. Improv is widening. And I mean, I think art was hit the hardest by the COVID shutdowns across the world,
Yeah.
but I feel like the most resilient people in the earth are artists, and they will find a way to turn this into something beautiful. Like that's literally our skill. You know what I mean? Like some people are, like we mentioned, scientists, like our characters, they can figure out how to create vaccines, and we like that. But but we're here to like make you reflect on what's happened and maybe try to see the beauty or try to like live in the space of it's all right, it's okay. In fact, the idea of connecting with people globally, to having conversations, sharing stuff, there's just something a little bit more sort of warm and fuzzy about it. It used to feel distant, like because I'm Gen X, so I'm a little like, computers, I remember when they were invented. But like, so I struggle sometimes to connect with it
Yeah.
in a more like, cohesive way.
Yep.
And I feel like the global improv community reaching out and becoming one large community has really just helped me feel more comfortable, has made me feel like I don't need to worry. Anytime I go to any city, anywhere,
You know someone.
if I find my improvisers,
Yes.
then I'm safe, right? I mean,
And my buddy David Escobedo termed it the ecosystem. So it's no longer like improv communities, it's an ecosystem and we're feeding into each other. And because of that, you start learning, whether you intend to or not, you start learning about other cultures, that you learn about how other styles are played, you learn about what that importance is, but you learn, oh, this is a connection right now. And we are in a time where we desperately are looking for human connection somehow, because it's been the daily interactions of connections have been taken from us. And so we're looking for a chance to connect somehow with people. And you know, during the pandemic, what did people turn to? Art, right? They didn't turn to like math or science. They're like, no, I need to watch TV. I need to sing. I need to paint. They turned to art. And I saw in Japan, they had a in the round theater where it was it was called like mail slot, and they had, each person had a seat around a stage, and it was wait, that's my I
I
have
was like, my ring doesn't sound like
my face
that.
going out through here. They each person, each theater audience member had a seat, and it was divided. It was like it looked like plywood. It was divided sections for one, and they were looking through a mailbox slot. And I'm like, oh, that's a way you could do it theatrically. Is, yeah, you could have it like through behind plexiglass, and everybody has their own little booth they go into, and it's socially distanced, and then you have the stage performance. So I think we are leading the way in innovation. We are leading the way to be like, how can we connect to our cast members, to our audience, to our artists? How do we do that? And we as artists just do it. Like, we don't go, I need approval. It's like, you don't need approval for this. You don't need approval to continue your podcast the way you want to. It's like, no, you want to do it that way, and that helps you connect with people. That's the exciting part of this. And now it's another tool in our tool belt. So even when the pandemic subsides, we can still continue to do this moving forward.
Plus, I'm so excited to see what the ripple effect
Yeah.
of artistic reaction is to this whole thing. Like in the next 5 to 10 years, I'm dying to see like what kinds of movies it inspires. Because, like for instance, I'm always looking for patterns. I'm a big pattern gal,
Yeah.
and like in life, because they make me feel more comfortable. And
It organizes the chaos somewhat.
yeah, yeah, and also like it makes me feel like I'm connected to the artist at large. Like
Right.
if I'm paying attention to what mass media's thematic similarities are, then at least I know what the people are putting out there. Like, so for instance, all of the Marvel and DC superhero movies hit a boom after 9/11. So
Mm.
we needed a hero, and they gave us some heroes,
Yeah.
right? We were in need of feeling like someone could save us because we felt like we could be, oh no, there's no one to save us, right?
Mm. Right, right, right.
Turns out we put these characters out, and these characters make us feel like, okay, maybe I could be saved. Not that we like, and not that we think that they're real, but just the idea of it is put in our heads, and we see that. And I just really wonder what parts of this, like, is it just going to be like movies about connection? Is it going to be movies about like people who didn't expect to get along, who get along, like different groups from different countries who like buck this idea of tribalism where it's like we have to be against each other and instead embrace and become,
Totally.
combine. I don't know. I don't know. In improv and in that kind of theatrical stuff, I think that there's a lot of that. I feel like we're trying to open our arms and embrace each other, but improv has always been more positive and like huggy than other arts. So it's hard to know like what Hollywood's going to do because it's like they don't want to hug.
Well,
At least well now.
I feel like it's always in response to things, right? And
Yeah.
so I look at this, and Jason Sudeikis just won the Golden Globe or whatever award show, best actor in a music comedy something
For
for
Ted Lasso,
Lasso. So I look at it
I
like
love him.
that, and people are like, it's such a good show, and it's like, you know why it's at the right time is because it's a show that gives people hope. It's not mean comedy. It's a very optimistic care. I think we're going to be seeing a lot more of that. I look at this like the comedy that's going to be successful moving forward at this period, and the improv especially, is silly, goofy stuff. Like, it's the same time period when Steve Martin came along. and he blew up. He became huge because heels of the Vietnam War, the Manson murders, Watergate. It was like, we need a release. And this guy comes on and goes, I got an arrow through my head. I'm doing a happy dance. And people went, yeah. And I feel like we're at that time now. We're on the heels of the coronavirus. Politically, where we were moving far right globally, especially here in the States. It was definitely a very stressful time. It was a collective holding of your breath. And now it's like, the goofy stuff, I think, is going to play so much more now because people want that. Just let me laugh. Just give me hope. I do think it's a period of connection. Whereas like the 70s with cinema in the States was like this gritty, and again, it was like this kind of they had that decade of, we're going to play real life, which was in response to the 50s and 60s of like optimism and big budget musicals and things like that. So I definitely think now we're going to need the silly, make me laugh, oh, I want to see you connect, rather than the CBS aggressive, loud, anger, confrontational type of comedies. I really think that's what's going to happen moving forward. Like these shows about hope.
Yeah, hope. Absolutely. If Ted Lasso and movies like Soul won Golden Globes, these movies are about being appreciative of your life, about like being kind and like figuring out how to understand someone that's different from you. Like, oh man, I love Ted Lasso. Whoever wrote it, I mean, I can look at the names and know who wrote it, but I mean, like whoever wrote it just was so on point. Like it's so perfect, so perfect. Like if somebody handed in that screenplay to somebody or, teleplay, they'd be like A+, just because it's like, it gets you and it builds and it gets you in ways where you're like, should I worry that they're going to take this nice guy down a peg? But it's not about that. It's about how his kindness and his openness and wanting to make them collaborate and love each other actually is the key to their success. If that's not the for the next few years, I mean, I don't know what it is. Everything in the world is so negative and terrible. We have to make our art something where it's like, hey, did you know that people could be nice and it would work out? Oh,
I completely. Okay. If you look at like improv theaters or improv teachers who did take an opposite stance and was like, let's, play it real and argue and fight and be real, all of that stuff. I think there's a space for it, but I don't think it's going to be as well received as let's just dig each other and have fun in this scene and let's do something silly and connect. I think those people are going to get more out of it. And you look at Ted Lasso and it's like the two coaches, two of the main characters are both improvisers. So I mean,
the other coach guy is an improviser too.
Brendan Hunt is. I was in comedy sports with him in Chicago 20 years ago.
Great!
And he went to Boom Chicago. He was in Boom Chicago for years in Amsterdam, and he's a great he's another. Brendan is a guy who does like a lot of one-person shows and is constantly working and writing. And I think him and Sudeikis. I think Sudeikis was at Boom Chicago at one point, and they connected. But they created this show that was like, no, we want to give people hope. We don't want it to be. And you expect, like you said, you expect this nice guy, oh, he's going to get run over. And it's like, no, what you realize is like, oh, he's able to survive. And that optimistic character for years that people roll their eyes at, I think people are going, well, let's give it a shot. I can always go back to my sarcastic, sadistic life, or I can be like, let me see what happens if I'm more optimistic. And it's always, to me, it's like, oh, you receive a lot more in general when you have that open, willing spirit and you're more optimistic than when you're negative. But that's again, I know I have a certain amount of privilege and I'm speaking from that, but I do think that attitude is going to go into improv and art, and we're going to see a lot more of that, of just hope, which we hadn't had for a while. Just hope.
To that point, it makes me think not just this idea of generating hope for people, but this idea that you can handle it, that no matter what happens, try to stay it's not toxic positivity. You know what I mean? It's not like, don't worry, sweetheart, everything's going to be great. Like, it's more like, hey, no matter what happens,
you'll survive.
You're going to be all right. Yeah. Try to keep your spirits up. You never know when something that seems so terrible turns out to be a great thing, right? And like from the beginning of this shutdown, I was like spinning, trying to find out where the positive was. I was like, this is terrible. This is terrible. There's no good things that are happening right now. And I was like, you'll find it. It's coming. There has to be an ebb and a flow. There's no,
Yes.
they exist in tandem. Like, as terrible as the world could be, you can also find a way to be positive in whatever way. Even if you're having the toughest time, if everyone around you is being so terrible to you, if everything is fallen out from underneath you. And for so many, I know that that's the case. I know that for so many people, everything that they had that made them feel comfortable and good has been taken away, and they are scared and they don't know what. And I'm like, just keep going. Just keep knowing that you can make it through this. You can get to the other side of it. And there will be, when you'll look back on this, try your best to find a lesson that you can take out of it that's going to help you in the next thing, right? When I have the worst times in my life, I'm like, okay, what can I learn from this that's going to help me later, right? I have said that one of the things that I have been very pleased about during this course. So my husband and I both work in live entertainment, live events. We have been unemployed. We're doing 1,000 side gigs, but like we've been unemployed for all intents and purposes for a year, right? So you feel like, oh my God, I have nothing. What's going to happen? But you just have to know that the skills that you develop are skills that you will be able to use. And the fact that, so we also work in jobs where it's like, you get a check once every 6 months. So I'm real good at budgeting, and I'm real good at figuring out how to organize money and to like take a chunk here and a chunk there. And I would say that skill that I developed over the previous years of budgeting and balancing and juggling really helped this last year.
Totally.
Like I wouldn't have lived. I wouldn't have lived if I didn't have the ability and the calmness to back that up of like, it's okay that I can't pay this bill. Just give them a call. They're pretty good about it. You just say like, hey man, I can't pay this right now. Can you help me out? And I got a list where it's like, these people are going to help you and these people don't. Give them the money right away. Right. But you got to know that for your own list. Like, cause some days you don't have the money. And if you can call up a company and say, yo, can I take this and pay it later? Can I move this payment to the end of the loan or whatever? And they're like, yeah, sure. That's fine. Yeah. Plus, at the beginning of COVID, man, everybody was being really easygoing about it. I was just like, yeah, we can't pay. Yeah, we can't pay. And then I was like, well, I don't know.
Right. It was like so many companies were like, that's fine. That's fine. We value you.
Right. Which is good.
And that started slowly being taken away where they're like, we value you somewhat. Okay.
Well, that's how I knew we were going back to the regular world. I was like, what's that? I can't delay it because no, you guys need the money. Okay.
Cool.
Sure.
So you've got Yes But Why, which people can listen to. Where else can they follow you online? Like if they wanted to reach out to you or connect or, bring you on board as a teacher or play or whatever it is, what's the best way?
Oh, yes. So Yes But Why podcast is the website for the podcast. It's a good spot to connect with me because, if you hit the contact form or anything, you're going to get straight to this gal right here. Also, so when my husband and I both have podcasts, I have Yes But Why, and he has Dudes and Beer, which is more of a pop culture, about the news. And then he also has Talking Sound, which is like Yes But Why, exploring the career of an AV guy. So so we've got all these podcasts going and we have a bunch of friends. So we started a network called HC Universal Network. And our network started with our friends who were like, hey, we want to do podcasts. How do we get this information out there? So we essentially set it up to distribute all of these other podcasts. And now we've got 12 or 13 podcasts that we distribute through our network. Everybody markets their own stuff, but we essentially bought the pro package on every single podcast distribution website, and then we spread it out on there. So that way, everyone that's in our group is on every single thing. Because a lot of time, people listen to podcasts on this app or that app, and as opposed to being like, hey, go here, we're just like, yeah, we're everywhere. If
That's
you look on your app and we're not there, send me a message. I'll put it there, right? Like,
yeah.
and we notice, so we look at the demographics to see like what countries are listening, and then we try to get the app there,
Oh,
right? So
cool.
like after I had a few of the gals from Improv Comedy Bangalore
Yeah.
on the podcast, I got a big influx of listeners from India. So then we were like, okay, well, let's see what app they have in India. And my husband found it and got us on that. So it was like, great.
Oh,
Cool. Now they don't have to go somewhere else. They can just use an app that's like local to them, and like there it is, no problem. It's not going to get kicked off,
right.
if something changes. But so we do the network, and you can connect with me on the network. Also, because like this past year we've done everything online, we've just been doing podcasting, and we've been trying to make extra money helping other people do podcasting. So we have podcastcadet.com,
Oh,
which is
yes.
a company where like if you need help, if you're like, I want to start a podcast, I don't know what I'm supposed to do now, we'll advise you on anything that you need advice on. Is it like, I don't know how to build content? Great, I got you. I don't know what equipment I should buy. Great, we can help you with that. Hey, I would love to do this and have somebody else edit these episodes for me. Great, I got you. Like, do you need marketing advice? Cool. So like all the people that have helped us along the way as we've developed our podcasts, we like have as our pals. And then if we try to answer every question we can, but if we can't, well, we have these friends and we connect you with them, and they can help you with whatever it is that you need, right? And if I don't have the answer, I'm going to help you find it. Like if I don't know, I'm like, I don't know how to do that. Well, let's ask around. And then I just start asking everyone I know to try to help out with that kind of stuff. So it was definitely born out of a side hustle, but now it's kind of become a lot more because everyone's at home, and also podcasting has become the way that people are like reaching out from their COVID homes.
It's the way, to me, podcasting is only going to get bigger and bigger, and it's the way we consume content. And I do a podcast with my buddy Landon, and people have asked me, it's like, how do you, what advice do you have? And my advice is always this: team up with somebody who knows what they're doing, because that's what I did. Team up with somebody who already does podcasting. But now this is a good resource to send to people, to say like, oh,
Right.
here, if you want to know how to do a podcast or that, like, I can't give you the answers, but you can check it out here. And I think it's such, you saw an opportunity, only it's because people kept asking. You're like, well, there's a need that it has to be filled here, and that came alive. So that's great.
Yeah, so I do that. I think as far as like connecting with me on social media, I'm on Facebook, but I don't have an artist page. It's just me, my personal page, which is mostly just photos of my child. And but feel free to send me an email through Yes But Why or through HC Universal Network. And also it's okay if you find me on Facebook as well. I mean, we're on Jay's Facebook right now. If you like click the link and you see my name, like I accept your messages.
Yeah, just do that.
Yeah, it's call me. I'm available. And yeah, it started to pick up. So I feel like hope in that realm. Like I've been teaching a lot of solo classes, like doing one-on-one instruction on writing. I teach like 8-year-olds to do improv. I've got a writing class for adults. So I've been doing a lot of Zoom teaching, but I would say that something that I've really enjoyed has been my one-on-one instruction on writing.
Cool.
And it's like, I can give you all the attention that you want. I did like an 8-week course with this one girl who is a senior in high school that was interested in being a comedian. And we did all comedy writing. And we like wrote and performed a sketch in every single class. So
Oh,
then at the end of the class, I edited together all of the Zoom
that's
videos
cool.
so that she had her own sketch show.
Oh my God.
Um,
She's got a
yeah,
patent.
it was great. And she has it, to like not only show like her family, but also like, she wants to go to college and say like, hey, I can perform. Yeah, I wrote all of these, she can say, because she did.
That's great.
I mean, and then also, I've worked with adults as well. So if you want help with acting, performance, podcasting, or writing, please come to me. I'm happy to help. If you are an improviser watching this and you want to be a guest on the Yes But Why podcast, please let me know. If you're an AV guy, you can talk to my husband. I mean, anybody, I'm sure I can connect you to a podcast that wants you on as a guest. So, send me a message. My messenger blows up like as soon as we get off the internet.
Careful what you wish for. Well, you are the best. It's so fun. I was a guest on your podcast. It was a complete blast, and it's even more fun playing with you. I can't wait, whether it's in person or virtual, whatever it is. I just can't wait to play with you again. I think it was super fun. So thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, Jay, for having me on. I feel honored to be part of all of the amazing people that have been on your show, and it's great to see your face and be connecting with somebody who's like, doing the improv world the way I am. So, thank you so much.
Be safe. We'll talk soon. Bye.